Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So this week's also going to be kind of a little bit more of just a talking video. Um, gonna finally kind of introduce myself and talk about kind of the reasons behind the Vulcan S. Because people are probably asking. But it's a little bit about me. My name's Luke. Um, I'm a crazy motorcycle loving lunatic. No, no. But I'm kind of one of those that it's really hard for me to kind of describe myself. All I can really say is I love motorcycles. I love trips. I love camping. Um, Very 420 friendly. Um, I mean, I vape. Don't really know too much to talk about me. So if you guys are kind of more curious about me, please feel free to leave comments or questions in the comments for me to answer, so I can help you guys get to know me a bit better. Next, it's gonna kind of actually let's talk about why I got the Kawasaki Vulcan S when I went and got my new bike. So when it came down to when I was looking to get the bike, I had 3 points that I had to kind of keep with. I had a certain set price, a kind of certain idea, and I wanted to make sure it was a cruiser with comfort and still has ability to kind of get modded. Preferably, I was going to say preferably, one of the things I was hoping was I'd get a bike not many people really were doing. And so when it came down to looking for a bike, it actually came a tie between 3 bikes. The Kawasaki Vulcan S, the Honda Rebel, and the Harley Davidson Iron 883. Now, when everything was kind of said and done and I looked, with the Harley, I would have been able to get the bike, period. That's it. No guarantee on any kind of mods, accessories, or anything like that. The Vulcan S was sitting where I knew I could get some accessories, and I had some accessories I knew that would work. And I mean, kind of same with the Honda Rebel, but those two had a price point where I had still the ability to afford mods. So next it kind of boiled down to which one did I like more? Which one kind of felt better underneath my booty? And as much as I kind of enjoyed, because I've had a bunch of Hondas in the past. The one I had before this was actually a Honda CX650C, which is now in the owner of Keith Hobb. The Adventures of Keith Hobb. And that's because we were going through a hard time. He kind of helped us out by taking that, because the place that we were at that time, we ended up having to have it inside the apartment because they were like, if it's not running, you got to get rid of it. And I was like, this is a nice collector's bike. You hardly see the CX650s. Now, don't get me wrong, I know they're out there, but usually when you see the CX650, you're talking about the CX650 Silverwing. And then usually when you talk about the regular CX, you actually end up finding more about the CX500s than you do the 650s. But truthfully, what was going on with that bike was a charging issue of some sorts. Of course, now I feel super bad because it's like key fob got it now, like, none of the electronics is working. And I do feel bad, I do. The only thing I could think of is that when I was cleaning it up to pull inside my apartment, I might have bumped something and a connection might be loose. I'm hoping that that's it. Otherwise, that because I mean, that wiring harness is the original 1983 wiring harness that was on that bike. Nothing has really been upgraded, so it's a little sketch. But I'm hoping it hasn't been giving him too much of a headache. I do. But with the CX 650, it had the whole neutral stance, like the Rebel. The thing was, with that kind of cruiser frame that I was looking at with the Rebel, I'd want more Fords. Well, the Kawasaki comes with Fords, basically. So that kind of appealed more to me. Truthfully, the final deciding factor between the two is a little petty, but it was one of those. The Kawasaki dealership was a couple miles from the house, while the Honda was about 2 hours away in a car. So it did kind of boil down to that. Now looking at that, the Kawasaki is going to be the way I can save money, be able to mod, and be able to kind of start growing a channel. Now I will say one of the biggest things I wanted to try to do was to try to find a bike that nobody was really doing videos with, that, you know, nobody's really talking about. Like, truthfully, if I was to upgrade, like, if anybody's like, oh, why don't you just get a Harley, because you basically turned it into one, because I put the 2014 and newer style Harley saddlebags on there. I've got a tour pack, I've got a windshield, like, I've got floorboards. And it's like, if you actually look at it, I've actually had people think it was a Harley, but it's not. I've spent probably roughly about 1,200, or no, not 1,200, sorry, 12,000, no more than 12,000 though, on the bike and mods. Now, if you were to look at what you could get from Harley or for that money, you're looking at a Iron 883 with some accessories. Probably with knowing Harley, it's probably just gonna be just like the passenger seat and pegs. It's gonna be, would put it nearly as much as what I've spent completely converting this into a lightweight sport touring like motorcycle. And I say like, it's not actually sport touring. Alright, sorry, the lady had called. Gotta answer the phone when the lady calls. Happy wife, happy life! No, but so, as I was saying, is that I did kind of design this after the old CX Silver Wings in a bit. However, the reason I will say it's a sport touring like motorcycle, the suspension is not set up for it to be a touring bike. That's basically more or less it. The suspension's not there. Like, if I really wanted to turn this into a touring bike, I probably would want to increase the fork oil weight, to probably switch out the shock, the monoshock for the rear suspension, to a heavier weight shock as well, probably a little bit more travel. And so there'd be a lot more things to kind of get it to where it would actually be a sport touring bike. Give me a second, that tilt's kind of getting me. Sorry. But it is not a touring bike. It can do it. Just like Shade Tree Surgeon says, any bike is an adventure bike. All you have to do is find the adventure. But it's one of those, if I do look at upgrading, like to try to get a bigger actual touring setup bike, I would prefer, being truthful, I prefer to actually get the Kawasaki Vulcan Voyager. I would prefer like one of the old 80s, 90s versions, because I just loved that kind of look with it they had, like with the gold wings and all that back then. The Yamaha Venture Royal and all that. But my thing is, I don't really want to go for a Harley. It's just right now as it is looking, that is probably the upgrade option. The reason I don't really want a Harley, excuse me, isn't because I don't like Harley. It's truthfully, everybody has a Harley. Everybody in the cruiser world or the touring world has a Harley. Next would be the Honda Goldwing. If you don't have a Harley, you have a Honda Goldwing. Now there are all these other bikes out there that are great touring motorcycles, but nobody's getting them. And so that's why, like, I would prefer, if I was to do an upgrade, I want to get the Voyager. And that's because, again, you don't really see anybody riding those. You don't see anybody talking about them. They're great bikes. They're the cheapest way to get into a full-dressed bagger without having to drop an arm and a leg. Because let's be honest, if you were to look at how the Voyager comes off the showroom floor, it would be more similar to compare it to a Road Glide, because it has the fixed front fairing. It's got your saddlebags, it's got your tour pack, it's got your passenger seat, like it has everything. The thing is, when you look at the price, you're looking at almost, just if you could get full base model version of both. The Voyager, you're looking at roughly 21,000. Harley, 25 plus. And the reason I say that is, unless you order the full standard, not many dealerships are going to have the standard. So when you go to that dealership, you're probably going to be dropping more close, probably to $28,000+ on a Harley. Well, money wise and credit wise for me, that ain't happening. It's still not going to happen for me to get the Voyager at this current set time, but that is kind of where I'd want to go if I was to upgrade to the bigger bagger and actually get a real touring motorcycle. But when it came down to it, the convenience to be able to get the Vulcan S and do it and get everything set up was the final deciding factor of why I went with it. But when it came down to it, it got me on the Vulcan S, which now the next thing is like a little bit before that I was looking at the KLR 650S. It is the more lowered version of the KLR 650. Makes it a little bit easier to flat foot it. And that's also make it easier for the lady to get in the back seat, because the whole reason that we had to go ahead and get a bike was her steering pillion went out in the car, and so at that point we only had the Honda, which had started giving me fits. So it was literally like, at that point we had no vehicle, The Honda would kind of give me signs like it wanted to turn on, but even it would just drain the jump box when I tried to jump it. And so it was one of those like we had to figure something out. Her car in the shop, the bike's now sitting just in a parking spot, not working. So definitely made it to where the Vulcan S became the prime choice for the channel. Because initially I was going to start it on the CX650, but that last apartment place was not kind. Even to the points of when I did the oil change for the CX650 when I got it, I got fussed at by that complex. Even though I had a sealed drip pan, I had everything and it was all organized and nice, so it didn't look bad. But they didn't like it. They thought it made their place look trashy, and well, I got annoying. You know, I mean, so they got to the point of so much that we ended up leaving, finding a new place. But I guess I'm gonna try to cut it here before I just actually talk y'all's ear off, and y'all just be like, man, what's the point of staying and watching this when he's just yapping? Well, I'll end it this way. If you haven't heard of, Shade Tree Surgeon, well, him and organization host a camp out. The organization is called Forgotten Angels. They help take in people who age out of the foster care system and would be homeless. They give them a place to live, and a place to start their life. And well, they do host a camp out twice a year. I will be going this October one. So during that trip, there'll be a lot more videos. There'll be definitely some cool photography. Because I mean, I'm studying to become a better photographer, try to become a professional photographer. I'd rather not. I'd rather just kind of, everything just take off. But life's not that easy. If it was, shit, we'd all be freaking YouTube famous and be sitting at home doing nothing. This world will go crud. But yeah, if you haven't heard of Forgotten Angels or Shade Tree, look into them. Like I said, with Forgotten Angels, they're the main ones hosting the camp out. It is on their property and all that. But it's one of those, if you go to the camp out, you get to meet a lot of great people. You get to have a great time. And you get to help a good cause. So you guys, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Thanks for staying and watching. Stay safe out there. And maybe see you at the camp out. Peace.